Okay, so, well, he said I can't present my proof that Tony changed these documents, or someone, and that's what I'm saying. I can't get answers to what I'm asking. You know, I'm asking about who approved this document midway during the investigation. This revised version that Tony sent me. Would you like to see the email with the date of April 28th? My daughter was suspended on April 17th, and he's telling me I can't bring this up.
I'd like to make this simple for you. I mean, you can't answer questions, but so you can move on. We were investigating this for months before any of this happened. We were trying to change the policy months in advance, and it just so happened that it was coming about. It was on the agenda for April 28th, well before this happened. So
Okay. Point made, but it still is not changed in the student handbook, which states 10 days. My whole point is my daughter has been wrongfully suspended over 10 days. Everywhere in the rule book, it says a superintendent and or designated person has that authority. So I'm just asking for that proof. That's all I'm asking, because I don't have it, and I don't think any of you have it, because you know everything else was sent to me certified mail. So that's a huge issue here. It says superintendent shall develop detailed written regulations to implement this policy. We don't have any detailed detailed written regulations as to how they should go about the investigation. That's why, again, it states all incidents must be reported to the police, because they are the entity and persons who are properly trained to do such investigations. I don't think Mrs. Dudley is properly trained, and that's my opinion. But there's no due process. I just read you the 3 recommendations by Michigan Department of Education as to what that due process should entail, but for whatever reason, it's not in this handbook that was given out to all students this year, and which was not changed as of today. It still states 10 days. So whether it was changed on 8350, it still states that in the handbook. So everyone doesn't have that 8350 revised version. Even the students who were wrongfully expelled because the board did not review all of the evidence. And then I'm going to read to you the revised school code excerpt, Act 451 of 1976, 380.13116, suspension or expulsion of students, of pupils, number 6. A student board or school administrator that complies with subsection 2 is not liable for damages for expelling a student expelling a pupil pursuant to subsection 2 and the authorizing body. But I don't think you guys are complying. So you may be liable for what you're doing. I just want you to know that. And your attorney is here, so he could let you know. And also, you know, again, level 4 offenses, the students don't have any rights, which is kind of amazing to me. Students don't have any rights or responsibilities, again, in this handbook that on the first page, it has Tony's title. So again, I'm assuming, and it could be an assumption, but I'm pretty sure that he is the author of, or one of the major authors, okay? And now let's look at this document in which you are expelling the students. And let me expose to you the information that is not true or has errors in it. Okay, the statement at the bottom, student C, this statement, again, as I just showed you, is kind of inaccurate because you would believe that the student wrote this statement in one sitting. but of course she was forced to write what, what's his name? What is his name? Oh, okay. Yeah. She was forced to write that second line. And you can see, you know, the discoloration, maybe 2 different color ink pens. So, you know, that's part of your proof that you're expelling students with. So no one investigated, you know, the 2 students again got suspended. You didn't even review the tape. So whatever this committee submits, you're taking it as 100% truth without doing any further investigation. So you're bringing the mallet down on students, no compassion at all. Now, page 2 of 3. Student B began looking in his backpack and eventually withdrew a small prescription type bottle. Do you have this bottle present? Have you seen the video and can actually say this is a prescription type bottle? I've seen it several times zoomed in. You don't know what's in that student's hand. But this is your factual statements that you are basing your decisions on solely, not even the video, as we witnessed with student A and B. Student B appears then to take a small aerosol can. Where are these descriptors coming from? How do you know this? Are you a professional aerosol can recognizer? How do you know in that black on black video that it's an aerosol can? It's just so many assumptions here. Student A places the bottle. Again, we don't know if it's a bottle. It's something in their hand. We don't know. Okay? At the end, instead, she said she did not know what was in the bottle, which is the same as basically her first statement. Having reviewed the facts, that's what it says. These are not facts. These are assumptions. They're assuming it's a small prescription type bottle. They assume it's a small aerosol can. They assume. We don't have any physical evidence. If we did, the police report would have showed it. There would have been an investigation, a proper investigation, and, you know, without processes and if you had the proper due process and protocol, all students would have been suspended. But since you don't, slippery slope. And then it says, having reviewed the facts, again, they're not facts, the committee finds that student C's actions of taking the bottle from student A, giving the bottle's contents to student B. You see her doing something with the bottle. You don't see her take something out, give this to her, and then do something else. You don't see all that. So how do you know? It's just, again, assumptions. How do you know she gave the contents of the bottle to student B, or did she give her back the bottle, or whatever the object was? We don't know that. It's, again, all assumptions. So, again, this board is expelling students based on assumptions. Okay, now, transfer is defined as giving, receiving, buying, or selling. Selling or transferring drugs and narcotics is a level 4 violation. All drugs, and it has an S on there, but it should be all drug-related violations require a report to the police. Nowhere in here, nowhere in the documents Maia's mother received, nor did I receive, is there a report from the police or to the police. We don't know what day or time this report has taken place. It doesn't say some, it says all. Again, due diligence. If you had a process, you could do, I did line A, I did B, I did C, I did D. You can't say it. So again, the committee who is trying to impose these conditions are not following through on their own rules that they drew up. And that's a big concern for me and the public, because we are taxpayers and we do help pay for your salaries. And if you're not doing your job correctly and for the benefit of the students, that's an issue that needs to be taken up, whether it's here or the state level. Because I do intend to take this to the state level, since my answers, or excuse me, since my questions can't be answered before a decision is rendered upon my daughter without any physical evidence, with all hearsay, can't view anything on the video except for suspicious activity. That's all they doing, suspicious activity. No police report. Mrs. Dudley harassing the children, threatening them with insubordination, so they are signing something under duress. Under the law, I know this is not a law, but under the law, that's inadmissible. It should be a law. They should have due process, but they don't. They should have due process. But, I guess this board and the committee does what they please because no due process, so we don't have to follow these rules. Let's throw it up. Okay? And I still don't see where the superintendent or the committee has the power to suspend a student longer than 10 days. I still don't see that in any of the documents, even the revised version. According to the Saginaw Township Community Schools Board disciplinary hearing procedures, all I want to do is talk about number 5. Following introductory remarks by the board president, the school administration, through the school principal or his designee, will outline the factual basis. These are not facts, people. You see nothing but assumptions. If you've seen, some of you seen the tape, and according to the tape, you can't identify what it is. So it's assumptions. We don't have any physical evidence to review, look at, smell, touch. I'm almost finished. We haven't identified, according to 380.1308 statewide school safety and information policy, the appropriate local law enforcement agency or agencies to be involved shall be determined locally, consistent with the statewide school safety information policy. But again, I just told you that the top 3, the main 3, the major 3 are not included in Heritage High School's policy. Law enforcement, okay, okay. The statewide school safety information policy required under subsection 1 shall identify the types of incidents occurring at the school that must be reported by law enforcement agencies. So again, this is one that is identified in your information, a level 4. It should be reported to the local authorities. And shall establish procedures to be followed. Where are those procedures that Mrs. Dudley and Tony followed as the committee heads? What are those specific detailed procedures that they followed in order to conduct this investigation? I don't have them. I requested them several times, but I don't have them. I'm assuming because everything else was given to me that these documents don't exist, because today I don't have them. So how do you respond? Anyone? Okay, I can't ask questions, let's make my statement. Law enforcement protocols and priorities for the reporting process. The law enforcement protocols must be developed with the cooperation of the appropriate state or local law enforcement agency. The law enforcement priorities shall include at least investigation of reported incidents. Again, Tony said it was a verbal. Police didn't do an investigation, so another violation. Wow, this is crazy. Another violation. It's about 10 of them. Okay, law enforcement protocols and priorities for the reporting process. Okay, the law enforcement priorities shall include at least investigation of reported incidents, identification of those involved in a reported incidents, assistance in prevention. So you need to develop some preventative measures that also deals with this. It asks for the protocols for responding to reportable incidents, addressing at least half of the following. Addressing at least all of the following. Initial notification and reporting to school officials, that happened. The information to be provided by school officials, that happened. Initial response by law enforcement agencies. It said all, it didn't exclude this. initial response by law enforcement agencies, which shall be specifically tailored for incidents, specific, not broad. Okay? Specific incidents in progress, incidents not in progress, and incidents involving delayed reporting. I believe this was a delayed report because, again, on the initial committee hearing for this case, I asked Tony, was there a police report? He didn't say until Monday, the 19th, at the open hearing, that there was a report. So all the time before that, he kept telling me, no police report is needed. This is not a criminal investigation. No police report is needed. But this is a level 4, the most serious of all offenses. And then another one. Okay, so they had custody of the actors. So they had them in custody. So they could not leave until a parent actually came to the school or wherever they held them at to take them out. So when they harassing them, questions, I can't go home until mom comes. Mom's at work. So mom has to get permission to leave. I live an hour and a half away, so they have my daughter in a confined space, can't talk to anybody, per Mrs. Dudley. So she's in a confined space, feeling alone, vulnerable, sign this statement. No, say marijuana or whatever they had her say in that statement. The amount and nature of assistance to be provided by school officials and the scope of their involvement in law enforcement procedures. This provision shall require school officials to notify the parent or legal guardian of a minor pupil who is a victim or witness when law enforcement authorities interview this pupil. Law enforcement did not interview the pupils. Mrs. Dudley did. That's why we have this in here, for law officials to do the proper due diligence, not the committee. They keep repeating it because it's very important and crucial to any and all level 4 cases. So we don't know what the initial response was. We don't have any proof of that. We don't know when it was reported, what time it was reported, no documentation of a report to the police. This is critical. This is crucial. Then number 3, if school officials of a school district determine that an incident has occurred at school that is required to be reported to law enforcement agencies, and this one is, according to the statewide school safety information policy, under this section, the superintendent of the school district or his or her designee immediately, not tomorrow, not the next day, not when I feel like it, not at the next meeting, but immediately shall report that finding to the appropriate state or local law enforcement agency in the manner prescribed in the statewide school safety information policy. That, again, hasn't been done. No proof. If you go from the top to the bottom, everything says no proof, no proof, no proof, no physical proof, no proof, hearsay, hearsay, hearsay. It's all hearsay. Everything is hearsay. Okay, now at the bottom of page 1 of the Heritage High School Student Handbook 2013-2014, at the bottom, the Director of Human Resources and Labor Relations, that's Tony. So he's the author of all these documents. Now they said 8350 was changed. Okay, let me read page 5, student rights and responsibilities. You see it everywhere throughout the document except for level 4 offenses. The Saginaw Township Board of Education guarantees the freedom allowed by law. That's that due process we were talking about. There is none. So again, right there, that's not guaranteeing my daughter freedom. That's not guaranteeing her freedom. Allowed by law, provided these freedoms do not endanger the health, safety, and welfare of the students and staff. Just because she's involved, that's still, she should have due process. Everyone, if you're a killer, whatever, due process. That doesn't pertain to this. She's not, going into school stabbing anybody, or no health or safety issues are present. The Board of Education, through its employees, recognizes and supports student rights and the student responsibilities but it was not included in level 4 offenses. But it was included everywhere else in the Heritage High School Student Handbook 2013-2014. Funny. And this is the document I'm reading. So, again, discipline, this is code of conduct. Discipline policy enacted by the Board of Education will always take precedence over the guidelines below. See alcohol, drug, tobacco, sexual harassment, and possession of dangerous weapons. The following policies are in effect when students, one, go to and from school, so that's just, wherever the students are. But again, I don't know what the Board of Education discipline policy is regarding this. I'm pretty sure it has some type of due diligence in there. But again, page 12 of the Student Handbook 2013, Heritage High School Student Handbook 2013-2014. Page 12, maybe page 13 because this is a printed version. Under long-term suspensions. Student is suspended by the Board of Education for more than 10 school days. You are the Board of Education. I haven't received any documentation, again, that you made a decision to suspend my daughter or the other 2 students longer than 10 days. It's right there. This hasn't changed. 8350 may have been revised, but this hasn't changed. The student may make up his or her work for credit and may return to the school at the conclusion of the long-term suspension. So, okay, again, page 18, maybe 17, all drug-related violations require a report to the police, which we don't have. My daughter was threatened with insubordination if she didn't write that statement under duress. And then again, the appeal procedure, suspension, disciplinary actions, page 22. It again states, the Board of Education determines out-of-school suspensions greater than 10 days. Neither the superintendent nor the Board of Education has supplied me with such a document. So that leads me to know that it's an actual fact that my daughter was wrongfully suspended for longer than 10 days. And how can we hold students accountable for their actions or misactions, curiosities? They break a rule and they have to, they say, hey, this is the policy. We're going to kick you out because of this policy. But the people who are developing the policies, creating the policies, changing the policies, they don't have to follow by their own rules. But they are the ones who the kids look up to. They are the ones that implement discipline on the kids if they break a rule. So who's governing this body, or who's governing the committee who conducted these poor investigations without due diligence, without having student rights, without having student responsibilities, without contacting the parent prior to questioning a child under duress, forcing them to write statements that will implement them in criminal activity, which has a severe punishment of being expelled. That's a felony, really. In the school district eyes, that's a felony. That's 6 months in the county jail or a year in prison. That's a long time for a student to be out of school with no proof. The board for the student A and B did not review all of the proof, just a letter that is not factual. But, we are going to take this and run with it. We don't have to look at the video. We're going to run with it. Police wasn't involved.
Whoever is making the comments in the background, we need them to identify themselves if they're going to be speaking.
Well, this is my paralegal.
Or your paralegal
Well, he's
identify himself if he's going to make comments.
Well,
in the background.
he'll whisper it in my ear then, so he won't make comments publicly. He'll whisper anything in my ear, and I'll reiterate it. Is that okay?
No.
Why not?
Because he's participating in the hearing, he's giving you information to say.
Okay, no problem. You don't have to.
Actually, I take that back. You do what you want to do.
No, I'm gonna adhere. If that's a rule, I will adhere to the rules and policies. If you do or not, as evident, you're not. We won't. So. You know, at this time, that's about all of my information.
Sir, do you have anyone else wish to speak on behalf of Student C?
Yes.
Hi, I provide tutoring services for student C. Her mom contacted me.
First off, can you please identify yourself?
Felicia Harrell, I don't mind identifying myself.
Excuse me?
Felicia Harrell.
And
I'm
what is your
her
position?
Tutor, I'm her tutor. Her mother contacted me on May 2nd. She told me about the situation, and I'm kind of like on the sideline. I'm only interested in the academic part. I read the suspension letter, and it stated that the student was allowed to get their assignments while they're on suspension, contingent on if they brought the old assignments in. No use to collect. There's no use in collecting assignments if you're not turning in things. So if she turns in something, brings it back, she gets the next set of assignments. So I said, okay. She started on May the 6th. She brought in her assignments. We went over some things, and she came in. She comes twice a week. And as she's coming in, she's completing her assignments. I'm recording them because that's what I do. I have to write down what the student does at my center, feedback on what they need to work on. We work on interventions and her assignments. Because my main thing in this is that I don't want her to get behind no matter what the situation is. She deserves to have her assignments and to be able to keep up in school. So I asked her mother, I said, check Skyward, take the assignments back. Make sure that you're doing your part in this situation when it comes to her academics. But as she's completing assignments, turning them in and getting new assignments, excuse me, they're not being put in Skyward. So I have no accurate way to assess how she's doing, what she's behind in, just her progress in school, what her grades are, to make sure she stays on top of things. So my thing is that in this whole process, whatever this may turn out to be, when a student is suspended, I just want to make sure that they're being treated fairly academically, because until this whole thing is resolved, they can still get their assignments as long as they bring other assignments in, and they need to be recorded in a timely manner. So if there's an outside agency that's providing services for that said student C, that she's being treated fairly in that way. I understand she's out of school. I understand the seriousness of the situation, but at the same time, I'm a mother of 5 children. You know, they're college bound, in college. I have a student that attends here, helps with the pass, making sure he got to class on time. I sit in classrooms and different things, and my main thing is that the student is treated fairly. So all I ask is that whatever assignments that students see, parents have turned in, that they be recorded in a timely manner, so she can pick up her new assignments, what she's able to do, so I can properly monitor how well she's doing. So if she's not back in school this school year, she still has her grades in, and she's still going to move on to the next level. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other people speak on behalf of Student C? There are none others, Mr. Brown?
Not at this time, no.
And Student C does not wish to speak?
No.
Address the board?
No.
I don't know, I just one of the board members mentioned whether Mr. Garrett wishes to speak to the board or not.
I do.
You had your hand up? Someone said I didn't see that.
Okay. Yes,
Did you have your hand up then? You wanted to speak?
yes, I do. Hi, I'm Robin Peter, C's mother. She's been suspended since the 17th of April. I've been going to get her homework starting the 21st. And I have two different papers stating. The first paper says she can get her homework. The second paper says she can make arrangements to take tests and quizzes, and that hasn't happened. And I went the last couple of days and no homework. I called her counselor, no feedback, no grades being recorded, and I'm paying for her services because the homework is hard and we don't have any notes or anything. And I just don't understand why we're not getting anywhere with that. No one's calling back saying nothing. Thank you.
Again, due process.
I would just like to interject first that we do appreciate you appearing. We appreciate everything thoroughly that you have given to us. As far as the content of what you have presented to us as your appeal, in listening to that, at this time, I don't believe I have any questions, but if any of my fellow board members have questions, you're welcome to ask. And that's based on what you have presented to us.
I have a question or two. Ms. Harrell, you mentioned documentation of work being put into Skyward so that you can check on a regular basis.
Yes.
Have you been able to obtain adequate information on student C's progress up until the time she was suspended?
No, as far as because when I spoke to the parent on May the 2nd when she enrolled her, nothing was entered in, so we kind of waited out, and her daughter started, student C started on May the 6th, and I asked again, okay, did you turn things in, are they recorded? She's turning things in, so I said, as a parent, as an educator, you have to think differently, so I said, okay, maybe you should have direct contact with the teachers, because that's what I do here. Direct contact with the teachers, whatever she turns in, scan it, sign off on it, date it, and put the time. That's just how anal I am about things. Send it directly to the teacher, but also when you go to the school, take that hard copy and you still have a copy for yourself. So we went that route, and I said, but still communicate with the school counselor, whoever it is you need to communicate with to stay on top of things. By the time she came for her second session, nothing was still entered in, and I'm getting concerned because now you're doing these assignments at my center. I'm seeing that they're getting done. I hired a specialized math tutor just for her that she's going to start with today to help her through this, because at the end of the day, I'm an educator, and that's where, my passion, that's where I'm at of this. So nothing has been entered in as of, last Friday that I know of. So that's where my concern is. She still needs to have her assignments. If she's completing the assignments, they need to be entered in so I can monitor it, her parents can monitor it, and we can move forward and get through this school year. That's my goal, get her through the school year and try to do better for next year. But no, nothing has been entered in as of last Friday.
Thank you for that. And just so that I'm clear, you were contracted after the suspension. You weren't working with student C prior to?
No, her
Okay.
mother was concerned about her getting behind. She's not physically in the classroom to get the notes, so there were a lot of things that she just didn't understand. So she contacted me about tutoring services, and I usually do the math and the English, and then I have the science and the English and anything else, and then I have a specialized math tutor that does only math with her, which is what she'll be doing today. So no, I wasn't contacting until after the fact. That's when she started seeing that she was struggling and she needed the extra support academically.
Okay, thank you.
Sir, the board has their opportunity to direct. You had your opportunity
But-
to address the board, so now it's the board's turn.
But excuse me, the board is asking me and the people here questions, and you denied me the right to ask questions and get my questions answered. So I'm asking you, is that proper protocol that you deny me the right to ask questions and to get my answers resolved in this forum? Or do I have to wait? Or how are you going to address my questions and accusations here today at this board meeting?
The board, you gave your presentation.
Well, sir,
The
I'm
board-
asking questions.
Let me
I'm not
finish.
giving a presentation. Correct that, please. I asked questions. You told me I am not allowed to ask questions and to get my questions answered. But yet, you are asking questions of me and of the people who are here to support Student C. And you are getting the questions answered.
Well, sir, this is an appeal. Now, for example.
How is it
I'm
a,
going to
hold on,
give you-
excuse me,
let-
hold
let
on.
me
You're
finish,
saying
sir.
this is an appeal. She hasn't been suspended legally for over 10 days, so this is not an appeal yet.
It is an appeal.
Okay, and you are counsel for this said staff. We're gonna investigate
No,
that as well.
hold
Thank
your
you.
comments.
Okay,
Hold your comments. This, a recommendation of the superintendent has been presented to this panel, and it's basically under appeal form. This board is determining on an appeal fashion whether to accept or deny the recommendation. And so you gave your, if you, this, for example, I'm just gonna give you, it's probably not a good example, but it's an example. If one were
Use a
to
good
appeal
example.
in front of the Michigan Supreme Court, counsel comes up in front of the court, gives this argument, gives this presentation why it believes a certain fashion.
you already
The
told me
court
this
does
is not, you
but
told
the-
me this is not a court of law.
It is
This
not, but
case
this-
and the last case, so that's can you use a better example that applies here today? Not one that you told me before. This is not a law, this is not criminal. So you specifically told me.
So you are, I think.
Okay, well,
if
say
you're
I'm
gonna
out of
argue,
order.
There's no
Well,
explanation.
my
You move
point
forward.
is that I'm asking questions. There is legal ramifications that I'm not getting due process for my daughter here.
Yes, and
So-
you have made your argument.
But I
clear,
also,
you have finished your argument.
but no, I didn't. I asked questions that were not answered, and then you told me, you instructed me to do a presentation. But I have questions. No, please hold
Sir,
your comment.
If you do not stay in order, I'm closing this. open
Okay,
session.
continue.
You gave your presentation. The board now is making the determination. It is their responsibility now to obtain whatever information they need. They feel whatever additional information they need to make their decision, and that's the purpose for the questions.
Okay, now.
If you refuse answering more questions, and then
Well, they didn't refuse. You refused for any of them to answer my questions. You directed me to give a presentation that I am not authorized
Sir,
to ask
your point
questions.
is made, you have it on videotape, you've said it over and over again. If
And-
you want to ask questions and we're not answering your questions, you got it
Okay.
on videotape.
Okay,
use for any appeal
and
process you want.
again, just to make point that you are the,
You've got that on record.
okay,
He
so again,
represents the board.
thank you,
Yeah.
because
You got
this
that.
will go to a state level.
We would like to think about this rationally, so
Okay.
can I please ask questions?
I can't ask, go ahead, ask a question.
Okay, Ms. Garrett,
Yes.
Mom.
How
You were talking about homework, I think, or
Yes.
I just want to be sure that I understand how student C was or was not able to obtain her homework and do her homework. Would you mind
Repeating what I
you
said?
Yes.
What I said, when she got suspended the 17th, the 21st, I started getting her homework.
Mhm.
Very, very little, not a lot. I
Okay.
went to the school every day, turned homework back in, checking her grades on Skyrock. She's supposed to be able to get credit for them, but she was not.
Okay.
And as other letters say that she should be able to take tests and quizzes, somebody would, I can contact, but when I call people, like her counselor, she never called me back. She said she was busy doing something. But I may get homework, maybe a couple of classes, and the homework that she did receive, she couldn't do it. It was kind of hard, so that's when I sought somebody out to help her.
Okay. All right.
In reviewing the materials, we often get the discipline records and the academic performance of our student. And my concern is that in the first semester, student C earned 1 credit and also was absent from school a lot. Many were excused. And then there is a history of discipline that this child has in her record that we were privileged to see. And I believe there are 11 offenses that have occurred in the time before this suspension. I don't know if the student,
No, I'll address that. My student has put on record at Heritage High School that she has been bullied several times. She reported it to several teachers, administration, and staff. So incidents and occurrences of this same bullying, which was not taken care of to the satisfaction of the parents by Heritage High School, led to many other incidents involving these same bunch of students. And regarding her academic performance, unfortunately, my daughter has been going to counseling, which Heritage High School knows about. I'm not going to dispel what she's going to counseling for, but she experienced a traumatic experience that just came back up for her this year. We informed the school of this situation and that she is going to counseling for that. So that is part and parcel of why her academic performance is not up to par.
Anything else? Mr. Schwartz?
Ms. Dudley, so if I understand this correctly, a parent called in and reported that their student or their child had said, it sounds like there were drugs or pills being sold on the bus. And from that, then the video was pulled, was watched, and then there's a narrative there of what the video, what is seen in the video. You did investigation and you talked to 5 students, is that right?
That's correct.
And besides student C, did the other 4 students that were interviewed indicate that it was marijuana that was being passed?
Yes.
All right. Are you the one that took the statements from student C?
Myself and Mr. Primo.
Proving what I stated.
You're not-
Oh, excuse me.
Did you bully student C in any way? Or can you tell us how you went about answering student C for her statement?
I brought her down to the office and I asked if she knew what she was down here for. She spoke of another incident she initially spoke of another incident that had happened earlier in the week, and I said, no, it was not that incident, something else that occurred on the bus. And then from there, she talked about at first she did not understand what it was, and I gave her a minute, and in the room with me was Mrs. Cole. In the room, with me was Mrs. Cole. And then she began to talk about the incident. After that, we asked if she would write down what she just what she had just told us, and took her into the ISS room to write that down. After she wrote it, she left without permission, and because she was supposed to stay in the ISS room and write the statement, and she left and went back to class. And from reviewing the statement, Mr. Primo looked at the statement and said, this is not what she said to you all. And then Mrs. Cole, when we got her out of her class, and asked if she would complete her statement to the best of her knowledge, and then that is when she told us the additional information.
So besides the written statement, she had orally told you what was in the completed written statement then?
Yes.
In regard to the academic concerns that the tutor has raised and the mother has raised, do you have any knowledge as to any of that going on?
I know that Mrs. Garrett has been into the school often, and I even spoke with the counselor yesterday afternoon in regards to her, the information being entered into Skyward. So that is correct, that information is not in Skyward. I do know initially that homework was being some of it was incomplete, and the process is that, the process that was in place is that in order to get more homework, you have to complete the other homework. And so if the homework was not complete, then teachers send that back. After the 19th, I had not checked on because I had seen that Mrs. Garrett was coming in often and checking on homework. So I know that in the past, when Mrs. Garrett and I spoke, we talked about student C being able to get extra help with work because there were some subjects that she was struggling with. She and I had talked about with our after-school tutoring that was on Wednesdays.
And so then arrangements also can be made so that she can take quizzes and tests and
That
things like that.
they need to contact the teachers to make those arrangements after school hours. And if there's a problem, that they could contact me to make other arrangements. But during their suspension, they're not supposed to be on campus during the school hours.
Thank you.
So can I just ask one more? That the 5 statements that you had were in addition to these statements, or so there were 2 additional?
2 additional.
Okay, thank you.
May I ask her a question?
No, sir, but this is the board's opportunity to get fact finding.
Are there any other questions from the board members?
Now may I ask a question? Because of the statement that she just said, as I passed this to you, she said it was 2 separate statements. Those 2 separate statements should have been on 2 separate pieces of paper showing and proving thus. Because here you have a statement, and then you have a 4th statement under duress, which is at the bottom, which she just alluded to the ISS person. What is his name? Mr. I'll find it.
Sir, you already made that argument.
Okay,
earlier.
I just want to reiterate it so when I send these tapes in, they know what to look for.
So if there are no other questions, we close this open session, open hearing. Thank you.
Okay, we have now concluded the portion of this meeting regarding the open session for disciplinary hearing for student C. At this point, I would ask